Welcome to the Week 4 update. I have been on the road for almost 1 full month talking to strangers across America. I am currently near a rest area in Tallahassee, Florida. This is the picnic area, which nobody is using on a Sunday morning at 9:45 a.m. Except for me, I'm using it. In the past week, the states that I've been to, I started in DC, which yes, I count as a state, and I made my way to, hold on, I always have to check, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and now Florida. I've been to a total of 20 states, and once again, that includes DC. That's insane. That's crazy. I've already been to 20 states. In the past week, I've talked to a total of 97 different strangers. That's 97 people who have said, yes, I'd like to be a part of your project. Yes, you can ask me a question about life. And in total, I've talked to 381 strangers from the 20 states that I've been to. I've been genuinely debating since literally day one if I should spend a little bit of my food budget to get some cat treats because I keep encountering cats. Like this is a mama cat. And she has 4 kittens that ran into the woods over here right as I came over here. It's very buggy here, so pardon my swatting. So let's talk about some of the favorite advice that I've gotten and some of the themes that I've gotten in the past week and kind of in the last couple weeks overall. Earlier this week, I was in Tybee Beach, South Carolina, this little area that a stranger actually told me to go to, and I went on his recommendation. I mostly talk to people who are 30 or older, but every once in a while I'll sprinkle in somebody who's my age or younger. And one of the youngest guys who I've talked to on this trip so far was at Tybee Beach, and I asked him for his life advice. And he said, the advice I like to follow the most is something that my mom has always told me, and it's that if you're standing at a road and you're about to cross it, and you know for a fact there has never been a car that has crossed this road before, you should still always look both ways before crossing. I was like, wow, that's pretty profound. It's like, take your precautions. Very interesting. Donna in North Carolina has my whole heart. I had been sitting in my car just at like a shopping center parking lot in North Carolina for maybe an hour and a half. I had been eating lunch and then I took a break and I was like, okay, where do I go next to find more strangers? And I started looking around me and I'm like, well, there are tons of people just shopping right now. I should just do a little loop around the area and see which shoppers I might be able to get. So I, got my microphone ready and got my camera ready. And the first person I see, as soon as I get out of my car, is this woman, Donna. Donna is in her motorized wheelchair, and I stopped her. She had this big smile on her face, and so did I, because she had these flowers, on her chair. And of course, I asked her, what would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know now? And she said, well, I think about that a lot. And I would tell her to have more fun, because when I was younger, I thought that I would wait till I retired to have fun. I thought I would make more art. She said she was a good sculptor. She said I would make more art. I'd redo a house. I'd raise horses, and all that went away when I got sick. And so looking back, knowing that now, she's like, I wish I would have just done that when I could, because I didn't know I was gonna be handicapped. Oh, and she was so sweet. And she goes, do you wanna know about the flowers? I said, yes, I wanna know about the flowers. And she tells me about how in the early stages of her having her electric wheelchair, she was also at a shopping center and was just scooting by, and some person yelled out of their car, hey, you asshole, get a flag for your chair. Meaning, he didn't see her and thought he was going to run her over, and for whatever reason he decided to call her an asshole because of it. And she was like, that is just, she said, that was it. And so she went to nearby Michael's and found these flowers and decided that she was going to put up as many flowers as it took to make people smile. And the number of flowers she has on her chair is the number of flowers it's taken to make people smile. Donna! That definitely made me smile. What a wholesome interaction that was. One of the biggest themes I've been getting, not just in the last week, but overall, has been about trusting your gut. So many people have said, I wish I knew earlier to just trust my gut. And they talk about how they were in bad marriages, bad relationships, bad friendships, and how deep down, they knew that they were in the wrong situation and that they didn't need to be married to this person. They didn't need to be friends with this person. They knew it in their gut. They wish they would have listened, but they learned it the hard way. They know it now, and now they do a good job of trusting their gut. There's a general theme as well of people telling their younger selves to save more money or to just start saving earlier. That's interesting to me because I'm not good at saving, first of all. Like, I'm blowing my entire whatever savings I have to do this trip. But I always ask people, what would you do if you had more money right now? Because that's what it really is about, right? Saving more or saving when you're younger is about having more money now or having more money for the future. So I'm like, what's the root desire for that? And for the most part, to my surprise, I don't know, I was expecting people to say I'd buy a nicer car, I'd buy a bigger home, and to my surprise, most people said, well, if I had saved more, I wouldn't work as much right now. That's it. The people who have said that have generally been content with what they have as far as like house and car and family goes. They just wish they didn't have to work as much so that they could spend time enjoying their family and enjoying their house, enjoying their car, whatever. Vacationing. People wish they had more money so that they could enjoy and experience more of life that isn't just work. And that's not a total surprise to me, right? Like, that's what we all want, I think. But again, I was expecting people to be like, well, I'd buy more things if I had more money. And that's not necessarily the case. Just less work. And one of my favorite pieces of advice I've gotten so far was from a guy named Fred in Washington, D.C. And Fred was quick about his advice. I re-listened to his audio to make sure I got it right because, I mean, without even hesitating, he goes, I've got one big thing that I truly believe in. I believe that you can do anything you want to do. It just depends on what you're willing to do to get there. And he goes, look at you, man. You're the perfect example. He said, you're doing it. You're doing what you want to do, and your cost, what you're willing to do to get there, is to live in your car, to not eat very good, to decide that you're not going to have, paid experiences to have fun. You're just going for it to do your trip. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. I love that. You can do anything you want to do. It just depends on what you're willing to do to get there. It takes some level of privilege to follow that advice, but I still really love that piece of advice. I think that's a big one. Now for some highlights, I spent a good amount of time by the water in the past week. I mean, mostly knowing that, number one, I enjoy being by large bodies of water, but I'm about to start heading out west. And I'm not gonna see a huge body of water for at least a few more weeks. So I gotta take it in while I can. And I got a lot of that. I got it at Myrtle Beach. I got it at Charleston. I got it at, Savannah, Georgia. I got it at Tybee Island. I got it at Little Talbot Island State Park. Oh, I also got it at Fort Clinch State Park. I got so much ocean, and it made me really happy. I love being by the ocean. Another highlight is that people in the South have actually been really nice to me, which is, I don't think I'm surprised. Like, I know Southern hospitality is a thing. I know it's real. God, there's so many bugs here. But again, as somebody born and raised in Ohio who now lives in Chicago, I've never really wanted to go down south. It's not something I've wanted to explore. And I've been sticking to cities, right? Like larger areas in the South, just for my own safety, and I also just don't want to experiment with rural deep South. But people have been really friendly, and the biggest difference between the strangers I talked to in the South versus when I was up north is that up north, when people were in a rush to get somewhere or just didn't really want to be a part of my project, they were overly polite about it. They would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's a great project, like I'd love to be a part of it, but I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable in front of the camera, or I'm sorry, I'm rushing to a meeting. Overly polite about it. Whereas people in the South So far, for the ones who have not wanted to be a part of the project, they're quiet about it. And I don't know what that means, but they'll either just be like, they won't even say anything, or they'll be like, no thanks. Real quiet. And I'd be like, that's okay, no problem. Have a great rest of your day. Another highlight was that I got to see a container ship in person for the first time. It rained for 3 hours in Savannah, Georgia. That was not part of the forecast. And so I just waited out in my car. It stopped raining and I look up in my rearview mirror and all I see is Maersk, which is the brand, like a huge shipping company. And I just see this going by. I immediately get out of my car and I'm like, whoa, look at that. You know, like there was a guy next to me. He goes, you know, every single one of those containers takes one truck. He goes, there's got to be about 1,000 of them on there. I was like, you're right. Look at how big that thing is. It's huge. And I got this drone footage of the container ship a little bit further away. I wish, I just couldn't get my drone out fast enough, but insane, super cool to see, man-made objects of such large scale. And also, as someone who did not study buoyancy in college, I'm like, how is that thing floating on water? Amazing. Tybee Beach was another highlight. I went unplanned because at Savannah, that guy who was like, there's got to be about 1,000 of those containers on that ship. He was like, have you ever been to Tybee Beach? And I was like, no, I have no idea what Tybee Beach is. He goes, you got to go, man. It's only 30 minutes east of here. So the next day I went and it was cool. It was like this little beach town. It was really cute and people were really nice. It was perfect out and I went for a swim for the first time. I've been along the ocean for weeks now and I haven't gone for a swim, mostly because the weather hasn't been overly hot enough for me to feel like I need to go for a swim. But man, it's getting hot down south. It's like 95 degrees and humid. I was like, I need to just take a dip in the ocean before I continue on my travels. So I did, and it was really nice. I felt so at peace, so relaxed. Oh, it was wonderful. I had a hotel stay in Savannah, Georgia, thanks to Teresa Ryan, who used her points to get me a hotel. That was awesome. A much needed rest. It was nice to sleep on a bed in a building and have my car in a parking garage, very secure. Thank you, Teresa. You already know, it means the world to me. In addition to that, I put a little thing out on my Instagram saying, hey, do you or someone you know live anywhere west of the East Coast states? And I've had like 15 different people offer up their places, actually more than that. And I'm like, that's good, that's awesome. I'm gonna take up most of those people on it because they live in places that are along the route that I plan on going on. So for the duration of my 60 days that I have left of the trip, about 25% of those nights, I'll be sleeping in a building instead of my car. Thank you to all of you who offered up your places. Means the world to me, keeps me safe, keeps me energized, and makes me feel loved. And I love you all right back, for real. Holy shit, Zaxby's? I've never had Zaxby's before, and I had to try because I love Popeye's fried chicken sandwich. Like I will die for Popeye's fried chicken sandwich, and Zaxby's was like that, except they put a slice of American cheese and some bacon in it. It was so good. I got it this like a second day in a row. I was like, the first time could not have been real. I must have dreamed that. I must try it again. And sure enough, the second time it was just as good. I'm gonna start a Zaxby's franchise in Ohio, in Chicago. I'll do it. And I ended the week by doing a load of laundry near Tallahassee. That is always a highlight because it's nice to have all my clothes be clean again. I just put my laundry, like my dirty clothes, behind the driver's seat, like in between the rear passenger seat and the driver's seat, that little space, the foot space in between, that's where all my dirty laundry goes. And so it's nice to wash that and not have all of that making the car smell like my dirty laundry. But then again, I'm pretty acclimated to whatever smell I might be giving off at this point. Whatever it takes, that's what I'm doing. As for challenges, one of them I mentioned already was the 3 hours of unplanned rain in Savannah, Georgia. I parked in along the water in the historic district, and then boom, it just starts storming for 3 hours. In addition to that, when I went to go pay for just, an extra hour of parking to see if I could wait out the rain, there was a little bit of water on the screen, which I guess bumped my parking up to the max and made me pay over $10 for the max amount of parking. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm gonna wait this out however long it takes. And it took 3 hours, and then I still had about an hour of sunlight, and I got some good stories there. So all things considered, that negative ended up being a good thing. I took a break in that 3 hour time. Another kind of challenge is, good God, it's getting hot. I'm officially in the South. It's hot during the day and the night. The night hasn't been as bad so far where I am, but the things that are keeping me cool at night and during the day, honestly, even is I have a rechargeable fan. It's got 3 speeds that helps keep me cool. I just keep that blowing on me the entire night. That's great. And then something called damp rid. I didn't even know damp rid was a thing until like last week. Damp rid just collects all the moisture in the air and puddles it up. And so I've got that in the car, which is absorbing, my breathing at night and any humidity that gets into the car during the day when it's super hot and humid out here. And that's been a lifesaver. Like, seriously, I can't imagine how extra gross it would be in the car without the damp rid. And to be honest, it's already kind of nasty in there. I stink, and that's okay. I had one kind of shady rest area experience this week, and I think it was at a rest area in South Carolina. It was pretty tiny, and for the most part, I was the only car there the entire night. But when I got there, I see a young man and an older woman just kind of loitering there around their car. Eventually, they go into the same bathroom. He comes out like just a second later and just stands out there. So I don't know if he was just making sure she was going to be okay. But they drive away, and then I wake up again at 4 a.m. It's like 4 or 5 hours after they had initially left. And they were back with another guy. And I was like, okay, this is kind of sketchy. Like, you don't see people coming back to the same rest area. That's not typically how it goes. But I was like, okay, I'm still the only car here except for them. So I just kind of kept an eye for a second. Then I was like, whatever, I've got pepper spray with me. If they wanted to do something, they would have done it. And they were talking loudly, which, like, if they wanted to do something to me, again, from a safety perspective, they wouldn't have been talking loudly to give themselves away to me while I was asleep in my car. So nothing happened there, but I did, I was a little bit freaked out and didn't sleep as well as I could have. It's okay. Nothing happened. Thus is life at rest areas, I suppose. But for things like that, more often than not, I will drive up to an extra hour to get to a rest area that is larger, more well lit, might be staffed at night, things like that. Like, I'm taking my safety, especially at night, very seriously. And one last challenge is just that now that I'm in the bigger states, not the teeny tiny ones up northeast, I am driving more each day. And so I just have to spread that out to keep myself fresh and alert. So I'll drive an hour in the morning, an hour or two in the afternoon, and then another hour or two in the evening. That's kind of what it's been like the last couple days. And there's always an objective, right? It's like, okay, to get from Jacksonville to Tallahassee, it's about a 3 hour drive. So I spent the first hour driving to a Planet Fitness, took a shower, just got refreshed, and then drove the rest of the 2 hours to get to the laundromat. And then, I was in a rest area that was just 15 minutes away at that point. So I can manage that. But that is an extra challenge right now. I have to factor that into my days. Every time I'm driving, if I'm driving for 5 to 6 hours a day, that's 5 to 6 hours that I can't talk to people either. So I got to plan more carefully now than I had to when I was in the small northeastern states. And another kind of thought in general is just that my comfort zone is being challenged constantly, like nonstop all day, every day, to the point where, this is the end of week 4. My comfort zone has gone from being pretty big to like way big. My comfort zone has just been forced to expand, and that's a good thing, right? The challenges have made me stronger, have made me bolder, braver, more comfortable in challenging situations, more adaptable, whatever. But I like that I can feel in just 1 month that I'm doing things that me from even 2 weeks ago, let alone, beyond past 2 weeks ago, me from that long ago would not have been as comfortable doing anything that I'm doing right now. A month ago, I had never slept in my car. A month ago, I hadn't talked to almost 400 total strangers in 20 different states. That's growth. We love growth. But seriously, if you're watching this, thank you so much for being just unbelievably supportive of me and this project, this journey. I don't know. I know that I have so many people who care about me, and there are so many people who I care about, but it's really showing with this trip. I can't believe how many people have gone out of their way to reach out and say, hey, hope you're doing okay. Love watching the journey. Like, this is only the beginning. But seriously, it makes me feel so loved, so, like, I think about all of you all the time while I'm on the road. I have a lot of time to think. And I'm just like, how lucky am I to have all of you? Thank you. Like, my heart is so full. How could I be afraid when I've got, hundreds of people who are cheering me on? And to all of you Patreon supporters, oh my God, like a bunch of you came in the last week. We're up to like $750 a month. Now, a good chunk of that is going to be used to create, print, and ship out the books and the prints. But also a good chunk of that is for this trip. It's unreal. Thank you so much for putting your trust in me with your money. That's so amazing, and I don't take that lightly. I understand the value of this. I'm gonna deliver. I cannot wait to put together this ultra limited edition book and to send you the prints. And by the way, I think it said that if you did the middle tier or the higher tier, you'd get 3 one-of-one prints, meaning you will be the only person to own that print ever. I think it's gonna end up being more than 3 per person. I would like to give more than just 3. And like I said, you're gonna be a one-of-one sole owner of this image. That's pretty cool, right? I think that's pretty cool. And a quick reminder that the real content comes after the journey is over. That's when the 1,000+ photos are developed, scanned, digitized, and paired with life advice. That's the true content that we're waiting for, and it won't happen until August or September. But be patient with me. The patience will make it all that much better. If you've made it here to the end, thank you so much for watching the week 4 update, for following along. And like that guy in DC said, you can do anything you want to do. It just depends what you're willing to do to get there. So think about that. What's that thing you've been waiting to do? And why wait? Why not go ahead and do it right now? That's it for the week 4 update. Stay tuned for what will surely be an incredible week 5 update. I'll see you in the next one.